Hi, my name's Jane Addenbrooke, and I'm going to be priesthood this coming Saturday. What an awesome privilege it is. It's one of those things that you never know what God's asking you to do. But this is a calling that I've felt for a very long time. I've been involved in church ministry for probably about 20 years, doing kids ministry. I'm married to a vicar, and so it kind of goes together. But, you know, one clerical collar in the family I thought was definitely enough. But no, God was asking something extra of me. But, you know, that calling I felt came in 2017 when I'd seen one of the curates in our church take his first communion for this first time. And I just burst into tears. I was like, it was so beautiful, and I felt like God say, I'd like you to do that, to celebrate communion for others, to share that holy moment. But at the same time as I was feeling that call into something else, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, otherwise known as MS. And that's a neurological condition that affects my balance and involves weakness. And but you know, I was like, I believe in a God who can do all things, and so I just thought, okay, well, you know, if I get ordained, then God would heal me along the way, or it just wouldn't be an issue. Training just took a little bit longer than I anticipated, but I was ordained as a curate back in July 2022, and for me, that was just such joy. I started my curacy in Upton, and you know, although it was completely out of my comfort zone, you know, I was preaching, I was being asked to do all these things, wearing a clerical collar, which felt really odd to me, and yet God was so in it and doing amazing things. And yet at the same time, physically, I was really struggling. I couldn't fulfill what I wanted to do, and I pushed myself too hard. My medical team said, look, the stress is making you worse, and I had to stop. You know, I'd only done a couple of months really, and already I knew that this wasn't working, and yet where's God in that? And to cut a long story short, basically I had to have a lot of bed rest. I was in a lot of pain, and my curacy came to an end, and I thought that was it. I didn't know what was going to happen next. I just literally had to lean into God and put it back in his hands. And actually, you know, for me, faith is not about what we do particularly. Jesus is more concerned about who we are for him. And that was a lesson I had to learn, because I'm a natural activist. I like to do things. And yet God was saying, who you are for me is more important. And actually, wisdom comes from many sources. It was actually my MS nurses who said to me, Jane, you need to have a really good rhythm in your day, to have regular rest points where you just literally sit down and you shut your eyes. And I was like, oh, well, that sounds like prayer to me. I was like, is that okay? And they were like, that sounds like a really good idea. So my day is structured around having prayer in the morning, prayer at lunchtime. I go to bed and I'll wake up and I'll start my day again. Prayer in the evening, prayer to finish the day. It's nothing new, but for me, that's my core, that's my lifeline. That's when I just have to lean back into God. And now, here I am. I've started a new curacy here in Birkenhead. This is our community centre. It's not part of the church, but this is where community happens. And this is where we feel like God wants us to be, where he wants me to be. I'm also involved with Christ the King down the road. And I don't know what's going to happen. I have to take each day as it comes. Each day is a gift that I use for God. Some days are really not good. You know, sometimes I physically can't do it. And yet I believe in a God who can do all things. And so this is where I'm at. I am absolutely delighted that I can be priested, because priesting for me is all about serving the people that God puts me with.